Welcome to Open Forum.
An everyday American couple.
My name is Charles Billis. I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Christine.
Who happened to host a show on public access TV. In these exclusive clips from the TV studio, their marriage seems fine.
Okay, off with the camera now.
But behind the scenes lurks a dark secret.
See a few cracks surface here and there.
There's a clause in the contract that says I have to be polite, you know?
That will lead to a shocking death.
I just remember feeling like such an overwhelming sense of dread.
Nothing is what it seems.
That was a sign to me that maybe there was something more going on.
I was tangled up with somebody that I would really rather not be tangled up with.
Somewhere in these light-hearted amateur broadcasts is an American monster. Welcome to Northern Vermont, circa 2009. You're watching public access television station, NEK-TV.
Welcome to a new show. It's News Dodge. This is your host, Steve Merrill. I'm your co-host, I guess, Charlie Billis. We'd like to say this is our second episode. We hope you saw the first one, because if you didn't, we're coming to your house and I'm going to cane you.
Basically, it's kind of a general purpose news show for stuff from Vermont topics, national topics, and international topics that doesn't seem to make the news or the network news, and so we cover it here, and that's why it's called It's News Dodge.
The floating head there is Steve Merrill, a public access TV regular.
At NEK-TV, we produce all different types of local programming. We have musical events, local events like Penguin Plunges. We had a guy who used to do creature feature and horror movies and stuff like that.
NEK-TV is one of more than 300 public access stations across the United States, where local volunteers can broadcast their own unique mix of programs.
This is fun. We're having fun. We are having fun.
It is kind of a peculiarly American institution.
NEK-TV tapes their shows at a small studio here in Newport, Vermont.
Oh, and here we are, back to Vermont.
Welcome home.
Yeah, welcome home to Vermont. State officials.
These rare broadcast clips feature the station host.
We try and find the most outrageously stupid-looking hats and headgear, so that when people are going through the channels, they'd say, "What on earth is this?"
Next to Steve is his trusty sidekick, 57-year-old Charlie Billis.
Well, I've noticed some of the effects if you look at the monitor out there, right? It's partially floating or something.
It's made me see right through you.
Thank God I haven't gone near that plant.
Let me out of here.
Let me out of here.
Perched in front of a green screen, flowing with psychedelic images, the two serve up a uniquely local perspective on the news.
I always wondered about that with, bisexuals. What do? I mean, you wake up in the morning and flip a coin? How does that work?
But should I tell you? Am I allowed to give you my interpretation of this?
Well, that's right. You're a trisexual. You like men, women, and barnyard animals, right?
Absolutely. That's why I always wear boots.
Yeah, Charlie was always on his toes. And when you first meet him, all it takes is a few sentences, and you know that the person's, on the same wavelength. We just crack each other up. Death by stoning. That'd take a lot of weed. I know some people. It was a lot of fun.
Behind the camera, watching every wisecrack, is Charlie's wife, 42-year-old Chrissy Billis.
Ben has been arrested in northern Greece for allegedly growing marijuana in the median strip of the country's main highway. Hey.
How intelligent are those Greek cops anyway? It's growing right there in front of you. It's only 5-6 feet high.
Well, think about
let
this.
the goats eat it.
You're driving a cruiser.
Back the sheep up to it, boys. Gonna have a hoedown.
Chrissy also provides the in-studio laugh track.
Charlie's wife, Chrissy, was his producer, his editor. Chrissy pretty much ran everything. And Charlie was the on-camera personality. All right, minute man and second man.
Everyone seems to be having fun.
Hasta la vista.
But you shouldn't always believe what you see on TV.
But that's it for this week's episode of It's News to Us. And remember, when the news breaks, we fix it.
This will be their final episode of It's News to Us.
Bye.
And cut.
Oh, thank God that's over. At least we didn't completely muck it up.
Within minutes of taping this show, one of these cheerful TV makers will be dead.
Drive safe.
Well, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Bye, Steve.
Chrissy drives Charlie the 30-minute trip to a farmhouse over in Brownington. Steve has a 20-minute journey to North Troy.
It was beautiful out, especially up here in northern New England. In September, it can be really nice.
Roadside farmhouse.
We're sitting down for supper, and all of a sudden, just bang. It sounded like dynamite.
We didn't really know what had happened.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
It's 2004, and Charlie and Chrissy Billis have moved up from Boston to the quieter pastures of northeastern Vermont.
Better hurry up. Bus is here soon.
Where they live with daughter Catherine and Chrissy's daughter from a previous marriage, Karina.
My family was actually pretty normal growing up. They cared for us, put us through school.
You should be grateful. Not everyone gets a free show at breakfast.
My parents did love each other a lot.
I only laugh at you to avoid crying.
Oh.
Charlie and Chrissy often use humor to distract themselves from their more serious problems.
Sorry, could I have some more coffee, please?
Charlie is legally blind. He's suffered from impaired vision since childhood. Still, he's been able to support his family.
My dad used to work as a used car salesman, which sounds kind of trashy, but he was really good at it because of his charisma and his people skills.
The home is Chrissy's domain, and she's the glue that holds this family together.
I think there was a lot of pressure on my mom, being that caretaker for pretty much everybody.
Of course, making ends meet on Charlie's tiny salary is tough.
Money was kind of tight, and it was kind of difficult for us. Being out in this little farmhouse and caring for my sibling and I guess she didn't really have a lot of time to herself.
Just 6 months after moving here, Charlie discovers a new passion, making television down at their public access TV station, NEK TV. Before long, Chrissy joins him at the studio.
Don't press the wrong buttons, honey.
It turned into something that they could work on and do together.
In 2005, the two launched their own chat show called Open Forum.
Hello and welcome to Open Forum. My name is Charles Billis. I'd like to introduce you to my wife, Christine.
Hi.
And Christine, if you would do us the honor and introduce the first guest.
Well, we would like to welcome you, and we'd like to welcome Linda.
The series features Charlie and Chrissy.
About yourself and how you started with this company. And
The Homespun show will run for nearly 5 years.
My mom would do a lot of the editing and kind of go through this is what we want, this is what we don't want.
The couple chat with locals of all sorts,
can I start?
Yeah.
All right.
from animal compliance officers
That's a fascinating job. I bet you meet a lot of fascinating people out there,
You meet interesting people, see different places.
to belly dancers.
Today, our special guest is Alia Thabit. She is a Middle Eastern dance artist. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hello.
Glad to be here.
Do you want to start the questions or you want me to start?
You always start.
All right, so I'll start the questions. There's a clause in the contract that says I have to be polite, But,
Chrissy isn't as excited to be on camera as her husband, but for his sake, she's willing to give it a whirl.
I think my mom had a lot of fun, especially since she was kind of cooped up in this house a lot.
The studios of NEK TV were kind of like a home away from home for Charlie and Chrissy, and they were a good team. They produced a lot of stuff.
There's no doubt about it, it's a strange show. But for those looking back years later, Strange doesn't even begin to describe it. Charlie or Chrissy could never have imagined that these clips will later be broadcast nationwide, and that this footage might hold clues to the terrible events that are about to unfold.
Hello, and welcome to Open Forum. This is your host, Charlie Billis. I'm Chrissy Billis.
In upstate Vermont, Charlie and Chrissy Billis are producing their own oddball talk show on the local public access station, NEK-TV.
I'm glad you came.
Just an opinion, do you
My dad's decision to start a talk show, I think, really stemmed from, his intellectual side and his people skills.
Yes, I can learn how to delete it.
It was like watching a high wire act. The guy was good at what he did.
About developments, we can take hours and hours. I see on screensavers, the things that are going on. It's amazing.
Working on a TV show takes a lot of communication, and I think that was really good in helping them come together.
My computer at home is so slow. I go to the library. It's like, yay.
It may be just an unpaid gig at a public access station, but Charlie has big ambitions in TV.
He would have loved to go from public access to, mainstream television.
Chrissy is more realistic.
I feel like for her,
When they get home, it's a different story. Chrissy is starting to resent how much time Charlie is spending at the station, leaving her to run the household and raise the girls.
she had to do a lot of work. I could see how that would be overwhelming.
She needs Charlie to get out there and make some real money.
Hey, honey.
Hey.
But Charlie has other ideas.
I've been thinking I'm going to be focusing all my energy on the TV business.
Charlie decides not to look for a job in Vermont, so their only income will be his disability checks.
We haven't even discussed this. You have responsibilities to this family.
But what is there to discuss?
We're barely getting by.
Money's always tight, but I'd never heard them complain about it or anything.
We're out in the field today.
Charlie barely notices his one-time hobby has become a near obsession.
Well, there you go, folks. Leave it up to Charlie to mess it up one more time.
For 4 days a week, he starts taking Open Forum out of the studio and onto the road. Chrissy is left at home, doing all the housework and stretching every dollar she can.
My mom was sort of overwhelmed with how much time my dad was dedicating towards, his show Open Forum. Money was tight, so that was always kind of like a stressor.
But in 2009, disaster strikes the Billis family when Chrissy gets devastating news from her doctor. She has ovarian cancer and has had to undergo a full hysterectomy.
I remember feeling really overwhelmed with everything. She was our mom, and it was really scary to think that we could lose her to something like that. She decided to quit smoking because it was the best decision for her health. She went onto an anti-smoking drug, and she started not getting a lot of sleep.
Hello, and welcome to Open Forum. My name is Charlie Billis. With me today, I have my good friend, Mr. Ron Tabb. How long have you been in Vermont?
As Chrissy embarks on her recovery that summer, Charlie doubles down on his TV projects. In August 2009, when he hears Steve Merrill is launching a new show, he volunteers to be Steve's on-screen sidekick.
I don't know how we came at the decision to have him as a co-host. So it was by mutual affirmation, I guess.
Steve and Charlie present their new show to the people of Vermont.
All I hear is bad news, so you gotta go ahead and give me some bad news.
I'm going to give you good news. You're going on the wrong channel. If you want good news,
Go to CNN.
I don't know. Yeah, go to CNN. It's all happy, happy, happy. It was fun to be able to play intellectual handball with somebody like that. Oh, and here's a good one. North Koreans fight back with the Somali pirates.
Are they using swords?
No, they were using Molotov cocktails.
Snowside, that's my boy.
Charlie, he had a very twisted sense of humor, and he had done a lot of strange things.
For the uninitiated, a Molotov cocktail is simply a gasoline in a bottle, and you stuff a rag in the top, pour a little gas on it, and it makes it's been named after Molotov, one of the Bolsheviks.
It was just a riot. The only thing we had to lose was our time, and, we both had plenty of that.
But for Chrissy, now back on her feet, that's the problem. The bills have been piling up at home, and Charlie's been doing nothing to pay them.
Well, you're playing TV over there. They're gonna cut the power.
As always, Charlie doesn't take it seriously.
I'm good with candles.
My parents did have a pretty stressful relationship with each other, and I think it was just a lot of my mom being overwhelmed by everything that was happening to her.
I have money coming in. My disability is money. What do you bring? Yeah, I thought so.
Charlie refuses to give up making his shows. And Chrissy decides that she could use a little time outside the house herself.
By the fall of 2009, I think my mom was pretty excited to start working on this show again. It was sort of getting back into the dynamics that, before she was diagnosed.
Which is why Chrissy is back behind the camera for Charlie and Steve's new show on that fateful September 22nd, 2009. What they don't know is that this will be the group's last episode together.
Welcome to our new show. It's New Stars. This is your host, Steve Merrill. I'm your co-host, hey guys, Charlie Billis.
That day when we shot the show, nothing seemed out of the ordinary to me.
You're driving a cruiser in Greece, you're listening to the radio.
Who's that, a bicycle with the reflectors?
Within 3 or 4 minutes after we started, we were on a roll.
A donkey with one of them.
Okay. You're driving a chariot down the highway in Greece, okay? And
two sheep, right? It was tricycle. I'm sorry.
Listen to the radio.
We were getting laughter from Charlie's wife, Chrissy. It was a good thing. We were having fun.
In less than an hour, one of the people in this all-American story will be dead.
We're out of time. We'll have to save this one for next week because our engineer has told us we're out of time.
We're out of time and out of stories, too.
Yeah, no, not really. We've got Meltdown 101, but we'll save that because we know we're still melting down as far as Wall Street goes.
September 22nd, 2009. This clip shows Charlie Billis and his friend Steve Merrill wrapping up the second episode of the Public Access News Show.
I'm your host, Minuteman, and my buddy here, what's your name? Second Man? All right, Minuteman and Second Man.
We'll see you guys next week. Hasta la vista.
Behind the camera is Charlie's wife, Chrissy Billis.
And cut.
She seems to have been enjoying Steve and Charlie's on-screen chat. By 3:30 that afternoon, everyone's headed home.
It was just a normal day like every other day.
That's when Pam and Ray Helenek are having an early dinner. And hear that terrible crash in front of their house.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
By the time Ray reaches the car, others from passing vehicles are dragging someone out.
There was all kinds of commotion. People were all around.
It's Chrissy and Charlie Billis, and they've been in a horrific accident.
We lived here since 1971. We've never seen anything like that before.
Chrissy seems okay, but Charlie wasn't wearing his seatbelt. His legs are crushed. Emergency responders are eventually able to free him, and they rush the couple to the ER. At the hospital, doctors soon give Chrissy the all-clear. But as the hours pass with no word, the family is worried about Charlie.
It was just all this feeling of dread that I had just been building up all day was like a tip of the roller coaster.
I'm so sorry. Your husband has died.
It was really overwhelming just to hear, oh, your dad didn't make it. And it was so, probably the biggest heartbreak of my life, I'd have to say, for sure. My dad and I had actually gotten in a fight the day before, so I didn't have the chance to say goodbye to him.
The fun-loving Joker, seen in the NEK TV videos, will be much missed.
But it's just like the United States. Our business is death, and job one is death, and business is good.
As with any fatal car crash along a state route, Vermont State Police arrived to investigate.
There wasn't any evidence of anything found in the roadway that would have caused her to swerve. There were no skid marks on the roadway.
The investigators are left scratching their heads. Chrissy has managed to crash into the only tree along that stretch of road, for at least a mile in their direction. The next day, Chrissy is released back home into the care of her daughters. A state trooper stops by to question her about the crash.
Good afternoon.
It was kind of strange to see my mom being interrogated with all these questions, especially right after losing somebody.
Tell me, are you on any medications?
It sort of felt like, it was my mom, my sister, and I against the world at that point.
Chrissy reveals that in addition to the anti-smoking drugs, she's also been taking antidepressants and sleeping pills. It gives the trooper a possible explanation for the crash. Chrissy's medications may have made her black out briefly, just before the accident.
My condolences. I'll be in touch.
Within days of Charlie's death, family and friends gather to pay their respects. The public access TV host was well known and well loved in the community.
It'll take 5 years for the ticks to be up here,
Well, hopefully I won't be around.
I miss him terribly. It was a lot of fun. He was a great guy and very smart.
Nevertheless, 8 days after Charlie's death, Steve Merrill returns to Screens with It's News to Us with a new co-host.
My co-host Charlie Billis was killed just after he left the studio in a horrible car crash. And for Charlie, if you're watching, this show's for you. And let's see, we'll start off with the biggest non-news story that hasn't involved Vermont.
After breaking the tragic news to viewers, Steve forges ahead with the program. After all, the show must go on.
Thank you very much for being welcome. You see what it's not.
It's been just 4 weeks since the death of Vermont Public Access Television host Charlie Billis. His wife Chrissy was behind the wheel, and their car crashed into a tree. But she survived.
That's a really big loss to just face out of nowhere, and it was really hard for her too, to lose the person that she loved, We all loved him, and
The computer comes on, everything's fine. Now it won't recognize the modem to get dialed.
Yeah, that's happened more than once.
Infamous driver issue.
Yes, sir, I spent more time with this. I think I paid for the...
For now, Chrissy can't return to the TV studio. The memories are just too painful. That same fall of 2009, Steve Merrill visits the state police.
Take a seat. Thank you.
Steve can't shake the idea that there may have been more to Charlie's death than anyone thought. Because of something he noticed at his good friend's funeral.
I found that Chrissy's behavior at the funeral was just completely weird. There wasn't even a tear there.
And there's something else. Steve tells them about an odd conversation he and Chrissy had about a month before the accident.
I was telling Chrissy about a friend of mine his wife had a car. The car was a lemon.
They strapped themselves and they put all these pillows inside.
Yeah?
And they'd driven the car into a tree to total it. It wasn't insurance fraud.
Brilliant.
I could see the change come over her. It was like I could tell that she'd been looking for a way to get Charlie out of her life.
But it's a big accusation, and police have nothing to go on but Steve's suspicions.
After someone broke in and stole electronics.
It's been 10 months since Charlie Billis made his last appearance on NEK TV.
Yeah, would the guy come back for more?
Absolutely. You
Forgot
know,
something?
you must have heard about always returning to the scene of the crime.
Chrissy decides it's time to stop grieving and look to her future. After all, she's still only 43 years old, so she tiptoes into the world of online dating.
My mom is someone who wants to care for other people, and I felt like maybe she was looking for that again.
And before long, she finds an interesting match that will quickly change her life.
On this particular website, they rate you as far as a match is concerned. And it turned out we're a very close match. 98% is kind of uncommon. We had a very similar sense of humor.
Yeah, afternoon was good.
Over the next 3 weeks, Chrissy and Kevin get to know each other better.
We had a instant message conversation, and that's when she mentioned that she lost her husband in a car crash. I did feel horrible to think of losing a husband, losing a spouse that way.
It's been 1 year since Charlie's death, and Kevin and Chrissy have decided to meet up for a walk out in the rolling farmlands.
She wasn't in such an upbeat mood, and I asked her what was wrong, and she said the accident.
Charlie's death is never far from Chrissy's mind.
We had walked down Route 5, the same road as the accident occurred on. And we went right around the tree that she hit. And she was explaining the details of the accident.
Charlie wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
I felt kind of...
And I wasn't going too fast, about 55.
Before long, Chrissy is confiding in Kevin about her marriage to Charlie.
Even though as much as I didn't want to hear the gory details, I want to know.
Okay, he was abusive. To me. To the girls.
I was devastated hearing this. My breath stopped. And she talked about feeling guilty about the accident, And I said, of course, you're going to feel guilty. It's, natural. But it wasn't your fault. She was... No, you don't understand. No, I did it on purpose. I killed him on purpose. And I'm like, wow. I was shocked. I did realize I just became a witness to a murder. I was tangled up with somebody that I'd really rather not be tangled up with.
Why would Chrissy Billis, Charlie's wife of 17 years, crash the car on purpose? Kevin knows he should go straight to the Vermont State Police, but first, he decides to try and get further proof.
I didn't expect to be believed, just telling my story without any kind of backup evidence. I decided I was gonna put a digital recorder in my pocket, set up another meeting with her, and get her to confess.
Hi.
When he shows up at the Vermont State Police...
But I love that man. Very much. I wasn't about to let anyone kill me.
It sounds like Chrissy is confessing to a murder.
He listened, and, his eyebrows went up.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy. You can't just go kill somebody and... okay, whatever. I don't care what they say in the movies.
The police have their doubts.
It led us to become a little bit more suspicious. But I just didn't know if she was saying that stuff to impress Mr. Leland or whether she was being truthful about it or not.
Also, the recording was clearly made without Chrissy's knowledge or any kind of police warrant. It would be inadmissible in court. Police will need more evidence to show that this accident was actually premeditated murder. And they're about to get exactly that.
Oh, and here's another good one for all you New Yorkers. An aging hitman once used as enforcer by mob boss John Gotti has been sentenced to life in prison for 4 cold-blooded killings. Now, we're not supposed to editorialize in the newspaper. How is it cold-blooded? And, isn't every killing cold-blooded?
As far as I know.
Yeah.
When Steve Merrill taped this show, he had no way of knowing his friend Charlie Billis would be dead in less than an hour, the apparent victim of a car accident.
Looking back on it now, I believe I shook his hand and said, have a good one, we'll do this again next week,
But 18 months later, his widow Chrissy seems to admit to her new boyfriend, Kevin Leland, the crash was intentional.
I killed him, but I love that man very much. I wasn't about to let anyone kill me.
Vermont State Police need to get solid proof as to what her intentions were. Detective Annis decides that the best way to do that is to go to the source. On April 25th, 2011, he pays Chrissy a visit and captures their whole discussion on tape.
She was under the assumption that I was there to speak about the insurance claim.
Chrissy has been trying to cash in on Charlie's $100,000 car insurance policy. It's a fair chunk of change for someone who's had to get by on so little.
And then I said, all we have to do is have the lawyer file the paperwork with the judge. And I was like, well, why? Because, I've had car claims before.
Yeah.
Never a judge involved with it. Maybe because it's such a high amount.
As we're speaking about the insurance claim, I then kind of changed gears.
And so, is there maybe a chance that you're driving home and he pisses you off?
And you're like, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm just...
Look, even though we didn't get along, I still loved him.
But the more Detective Annis presses in on what she was thinking that day, the more Chrissy tries to change the subject.
I found a spider.
Yeah.
And I was going to drop it out on the back porch. Except the kitten decided that she's hungry. Kitty cats, they do that.
Detective Annis is in no mood for small talk. He comes right out with it.
Did you ever do any planning or research on how to survive a car crash or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Have you ever told anyone that you intentionally crashed your car to kill your husband?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Chrissy has been caught in a lie. Police do have proof that she told someone she crashed the car on purpose.
Do I need a lawyer?
That is up to you.
Chrissy starts to crack, and the conversation continues outside, away from the children.
First, I need to know that I have visitation rights to the kids. Can you promise me that?
I think you're jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm going to assume that you're thinking that you're going to be in jail or something. And
yeah.
During that conversation, she basically confessed that she crashed the vehicle intentionally, which led to the death of Charles Billis.
I didn't exactly pass out at all at any point.
Okay.
Sure, honey, I told you before. Okay, I'm getting the money from the government.
You driving home?
Are you ever gonna get a job?
Get off my back. Fine.
And he flipped out on me.
Well, it's not fine. What the hell are you doing? Just shut up. You're supposed to be quitting. Yeah?
Well, it pisses you off.
I cannot live with the smoke in the car. Look where you're driving, man.
No, just shut up.
Well, we got to the farm, and I saw the tree, and I knew it wasn't gonna move when I hit it. And the crazy part is that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. It's that tree coming at me.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I thought we were both gonna die. That was what I thought was gonna happen.
Your intention was to kill yourself and kill him.
Yeah. I said I couldn't take it anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. And I says I certainly ain't gonna leave him with my kids.
Billis. But the prosecutor's only real proof are her confessions. So before she can recant, they offer her a deal. In July of 2012, Chrissy pleads guilty to manslaughter and is sentenced to 15 years in prison. Chrissy's claims of mental abuse at the hands of Charlie are never proven.
I just remember her in the courtroom. In my mind, it was like, okay, first I lost my dad, and now I'm gonna lose my mom. That was just so crazy to me. It was just really overwhelming, for sure.
Steve Merrill is still making kooky public access shows over at NEK-TV studios.
It's just incomprehensible to me, looking back on it now, that we're doing this show, and then not an hour later, he'd be dead. Here we are. We're all gonna die, but you never think it's gonna be at the hand of your own spouse.
Man, we're really moving today, huh?
Yeah. I mean, what part of thou shalt not kill don't you get? That's it for this week's episode of It's News to Us. And remember, when the news breaks, we fix it.
Absolutely. Get the duct tape out.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.